Director Sarah Chen stood at the window of her modest office in the Global Science Initiative headquarters, watching rain streak down the glass while pretending to be completely ordinary. The building itself, appearing as a simple concrete and glass structure in downtown Singapore, was anything but ordinary. Not that their impending visitors would be able to tell. The alert had come 3 days ago. A massive fleet of ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting what they called a civilized greeting to humanity. The Galactic Confederation, they called themselves. 73 species united under one banner of progress and enlightenment, come to offer humanity membership in their grand alliance. They're entering orbit now, Dr. Marcus Webb announced from his position at what looked like an ancient desktop computer, but was actually a quantum-linked monitoring system. Right on schedule. Sarah nodded, adjusting her simple blue blazer. The Confederation would be expecting to find a primitive species, barely able to reach their own moon, struggling with basic fusion power and quantum mechanics. That's exactly what humanity had wanted them to think. "How many ships?" she asked, though she already knew the answer from the quantum sensors hidden in every satellite humanity had launched in the past 50 years. 342 vessels, ranging from what they probably consider impressive diplomatic cruisers to what they think we won't recognize as warships, Marcus replied with a slight smirk. They're arranging themselves in their traditional Awe the Primitives formation. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. And our actual capabilities. Any one of our orbital platforms could disable their entire fleet without breaking a sweat. Their shield technology is about 3 centuries behind our current standard. Rather admirable, really. The first transmission came exactly as their behavioral models had predicted. A being that appeared to be made of crystalline structures and flowing energy appeared on every screen on Earth simultaneously. Well, every screen they knew about. People of Earth, the being announced in perfectly translated languages across the globe. I am High Ambassador Zextal of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace to offer your species the greatest opportunity in your history, membership in our grand alliance of civilized worlds. Sarah straightened her blazer one final time and nodded to Marcus. Time to play their part. This is Director Sarah Chen of the Global Science Initiative, Earth's designated first contact representative, she responded, her image replacing the aliens on screens worldwide. We welcome your greeting and appreciate your interest in diplomatic relations. The crystalline being's colors shifted in what their xenobiologists had identified as pleasure. Excellent. We have studied your world for some time and believe you are ready to begin the process of elevation to a truly civilized species. Your primitive but promising achievements in spaceflight and energy production show great potential. Sarah maintained her pleasant expression, though she could feel Marcus trying not to laugh behind her. That's very kind of you, Ambassador. However, I'm afraid we must decline your offer at this time. The crystalline being froze, its colors cycling rapidly through patterns their analysts had never seen before. I must have misunderstood. Surely you wish to benefit from our advanced technologies, our protection, the economic opportunities of galactic trade. While we appreciate the offer, Earth is currently not interested in joining the Confederation. We wish you safe travels. Sarah kept her tone pleasant but firm. But this is unprecedented. We detected no advanced defense systems, no quantum field manipulation, no consciousness transfer technology. Your species still uses chemical rockets and fossil fuels. The ambassador's translation was beginning to lose its smooth quality as agitation set in. Sarah allowed her smile to warm slightly. Ambassador, I'm curious. Did you ever wonder why humanity, despite making regular technological breakthroughs, seemed to stop advancing in certain areas? Why we appeared to struggle with problems we had already solved centuries ago? The crystalline being's colors had settled into what their xenobiologists called a distress pattern. We chose what technologies to display very carefully, Ambassador. Humanity learned long ago that true power lies not in showing off every capability you possess, but in carefully choosing what to reveal. Sarah gestured casually, and every screen on Earth switched off simultaneously, defeating the Confederation's override protocols instantly. "Now then," she continued, her voice reaching the ambassador through their own communication systems, bypassing their encryption as if it wasn't there, "shall we begin real diplomatic discussions? As equals." The silence from the Confederation fleet was profound. In the background, Marcus finally allowed himself to chuckle. "Director," he said, checking his antiquated-looking monitor, "it appears several of their ships are attempting emergency quantum communications with their homeworld." "Let them," Sarah replied, turning back to the window to watch the rain. "I believe the Confederation is about to learn a valuable lesson about making assumptions. Would you please ensure our guests receive the standard diplomatic welcome package? The one that doesn't quite reveal everything, of course." "Already done," Marcus confirmed. "Though I doubt they'll sleep well after reading even the redacted version of our capabilities." Sarah smiled, watching the rain transform to snow in defiance of both the season and local weather patterns, one of the smaller demonstrations their visitors would notice in the coming days. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. I believe this is the beginning of a very interesting relationship." In orbit, the Confederation fleet hung motionless, their crews frantically trying to understand how they had so drastically misread this seemingly primitive world. They were about to discover that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't their hidden technology. It was their patience in waiting for the right moment to reveal it. Senior Analyst Vexera of the Confederation Intelligence Division was having the worst day of their 300-year career. Their tentacles twisted in agitation as they presented their findings to the Emergency Council, the holographic data streams showing increasingly impossible readings from Earth. "As you can see," they gestured to a simulation of Earth's apparent technological level versus their actual capabilities. "We were not merely wrong about human advancement. We were wrong about everything." The council chamber, normally a model of serenity with its floating crystalline platforms and ethereal lighting, had descended into barely controlled chaos. Representatives from 73 species struggled to process the implications of Vexera's report. "Impossible," thundered Ambassador Kral of the Militant Systems, his warform's carapace flushing deep crimson. "No species could advance so far while appearing so primitive. Our deep space monitors would have detected." "They wanted us to see what they chose to show," Vexera interrupted, bringing up new data streams. "Observer Probe Gamma-7 captured this footage yesterday. The holographic display showed a human child, no more than 12 Earth years old, sitting on what appeared to be a park bench. She was manipulating what looked like a simple electronic game device, but the energy readings told a different story. That toy," Vexera explained, their voice trembling slightly, "is casually manipulating quantum states that our best scientists theorized were impossible to control. The child appears to be using it to play something called Pokemon." The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices and psychic projections of disbelief. High Counselor Zinfar, their crystalline form pulsing with agitation, raised all four appendages for silence. "Continue, Analyst Vexera. What else have you discovered?" Vexera's tentacles twisted tighter. "The humans have been allowing us to detect only what they wanted us to see. Their visible technology. The chemical rockets, the primitive satellites, the basic AI systems, it's all essentially a carefully maintained facade." New images appeared. A coffee shop in Seattle, where the barista's simple tablet computer was actually interfacing with multiple quantum dimensions to perfect coffee brewing algorithms. A farmer in Kenya using what appeared to be basic irrigation systems, but was actually manipulating weather patterns at a molecular level. A teenager in Brazil whose smartphone was casually processing more data than the Confederation's central AI cores. "But why?" demanded Representative Leaks of the Commerce Worlds, their binary forms splitting in agitation. "Why hide such advancement?" "The economic advantages alone." "Because they were watching us," Vexera replied quietly. "They've known about the Confederation for at least 3 centuries. They've been monitoring our development, our politics, our conflicts. and they decided to wait. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. On the main display, footage showed a human university campus where students appeared to be playing simple holographic games. The energy readings, however, showed they were actually manipulating the fabric of space-time as a casual exercise. "There's more," Vexra continued, dreading this next part. "We've detected evidence of human presence throughout Confederation space. Those quaint tourist shops on major worlds. The small trading posts in remote systems, all staffed by humans who appeared to be simple merchants but were actually gathering intelligence." "How?" High Counselor Zinfar's voice cracked, their crystalline form clouding with emotion. "How did we not detect them?" "Because humans appear to have mastered something we thought impossible. They can choose how their technology interacts with the physical universe. They can make advanced quantum systems appear as simple electronic devices. They can hide zero-point energy reactors inside what looks like a coffee maker." The display showed a new image, a simple wooden cabin in what appeared to be an earth forest. The energy readings from it, however, showed more computational power than most Confederation worlds. "We believed we were studying them," Vexra concluded, "but they were studying us. Every trade mission, every scientific survey, every cultural exchange. They were quietly assessing the Confederation while maintaining their carefully crafted image of a developing world." Ambassador Krell's war form had shifted to a pale, sickly color. "Are they hostile?" "No," Vexra replied, bringing up their final data set. "That's perhaps the most remarkable thing. They've had the capability to dominate the Confederation for centuries. Instead, they chose to wait and observe. Director Chen's diplomatic response wasn't a revelation of their power. It was an invitation to begin real dialogue." The council chamber erupted in discussion again, but Vexra barely noticed. They were watching new footage from Earth, a public park where children played with what appeared to be simple soap bubbles, but were actually creating and manipulating microscopic universes. The children were laughing, treating something that defied the laws of physics as a casual game. "Recommendations?" High Counselor Zinfar asked, their voice heavy with the weight of the revelation. "We need to completely reassess our approach to Earth," Vexra replied. "Not as primitives to be uplifted, but as a civilization that has surpassed us in ways we're only beginning to understand. And perhaps we need to ask ourselves why we never considered that progress doesn't always need to be displayed to be real." In the background, the display showed a human teenage girl explaining quantum mechanics to her younger brother while they both ate ice cream, casually rewriting what the Confederation thought were the fundamental laws of the universe between bites. Grand Admiral Silos of the Confederation Defense Fleet had never felt more useless in his 4 centuries of service. His flagship, the Eternal Dominion, hung in high Earth orbit alongside 2,000 of the most powerful warships ever constructed by the Confederation. They were supposed to be an intimidating show of force. Instead, they felt like children's toys under the watchful eye of Earth's hidden defenses. "Status report," he commanded, his crystalline form shifting nervously as he watched Earth's night side rotate into view, city lights twinkling innocently below. "No change, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. "Earth's visible defense systems remain primitive and minimal." However, the officer's tentacles twisted in discomfort. "The energy readings we can't quite understand continue to saturate the entire solar system." Thylos absorbed this with growing unease. After the diplomatic disaster of first contact, the Confederation Council had decided to attempt a show of force. Not to attack. No one was that foolish, but to remind Earth that they were dealing with a galactic civilization spanning thousands of worlds. The humans had responded by serving tea. "Put the human liaison office on screen," Silos ordered. The main viewport shifted to show a simple room where Dr. James Chen, brother of Director Sarah Chen, sat at what appeared to be a wooden desk. He was calmly pouring tea from an old ceramic pot. "Good morning, Admiral," James said pleasantly, not looking up from his task. "Would you care to join me?" This is a particularly good oolong. Dr. Chen. Xylos tried to keep the frustration from his voice. You understand that we have deployed a significant portion of the Confederation defense fleet to your system. Oh yes. James nodded, taking a sip of his tea. Most impressive. Though I must say, positioning your ships in a dodecahedron formation seems a bit theatrical. Was that really necessary? Before Xylos could respond, alarms blared across his bridge. Admiral, his sensor officer called out, we're detecting massive energy spikes from the T-set. James smiled apologetically. Excuse me. My niece was experimenting with the quantum substrate of my T-service last week. Sometimes it still hiccups. He tapped the teapot gently, and the energy readings that had been threatening to overwhelm the fleet's sensors vanished. Your niece, Xylos said flatly. The one who is, by your world's measure of time, 7 years old. 7.5, James corrected. She's quite proud of that half. Though I did have to explain to her that reorganizing the fundamental forces of the universe during tea time is considered a bit rude. Xylos felt his crystalline form threatening to crack under the strain of maintaining composure. Dr. Chen, do you understand the purpose of our fleet's presence here? Oh, certainly, James nodded, pouring another cup of tea. You're attempting to demonstrate the Confederation's military might to encourage Earth to reconsider its position on membership. It's actually quite fascinating from a sociological perspective. We haven't seen this particular diplomatic approach since. He paused, considering. I believe it was the Ming Dynasty, though they had fewer ships, obviously. A new alert sounded on the bridge. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, voice shaking, we're detecting our entire fleet in what appears to be a small snow globe on Dr. Chen's desk. The camera view widened slightly, showing indeed a small snow globe next to the T-set. Inside, perfect miniature versions of all 2,000 Confederation ships floated in swirling glitter. Yes, James picked up the snow globe, shaking it gently. The actual ships in orbit felt no effect, but the sight still made Xylos's command staff flinch collectively. Another one of my niece's projects. She's going through a phase where she enjoys studying parallel dimensional matrices. Kids, you know how they are. Your niece created a perfect quantum replica of our entire fleet. As a toy. Xylos fought to keep his voice steady. Well, she was supposed to be doing her homework, James admitted, setting the snow globe down carefully. We had a talk about that. Academic responsibilities should come before recreational quantum engineering. Xylos stared at the snow globe, at the T-set that casually violated the laws of physics, at the seemingly simple wooden desk that their sensors insisted was somehow both there and not there simultaneously. He came to a decision. Fleet Command, he announced. Prepare to. Oh, before you give the withdrawal order, James interrupted politely. Would you like to take some tea with you? We find it helps with the quantum stress of long-distance space travel. Though I should warn you, this blend occasionally causes temporary omniscience. We're still working out that bug. Xylos looked at his tactical display, where the energy readings from Earth continued to defy explanation. He looked at the snow globe containing perfect miniatures of his supposedly mighty fleet. He looked at James Chen, calmly sipping tea that might or might not alter the fabric of reality. Thank you, he said finally. We would be honored to accept some tea. Excellent, James beamed. Though perhaps we should use the regular tea set. The quantum one is still a bit enthusiastic after my niece's adjustments. Last week, it tried to serve tea to everyone in 3 parallel dimensions simultaneously. The paperwork was quite tedious. As Xylos watched his flagship's quantum communications officer accept a cup of perfectly normal tea with shaking tentacles, he realized that the Confederation wasn't just dealing with a more advanced civilization. They were dealing with a civilization that had advanced so far they treated the impossible as mundane, the extraordinary as everyday, and cosmic power as something to be casually mentioned over tea. The snow globe sparkled innocently on the desk, 2,000 of the Confederation's most powerful ships reduced to a child's toy. Somewhere on Earth, a 7.5-year-old girl was probably already working on something even more impossible, just in time for show and tell. Trade Commissioner Ilavix of the Confederation Commerce Council was experiencing what humans called a paradigm shift, and she wasn't enjoying it one bit. She sat in what appeared to be a perfectly ordinary cafe in Paris, watching her entire understanding of economics crumble, while her human host ordered croissants. "You see," Dr. Maria Santos explained, breaking her croissant in half with casual precision, "we realized quite early that traditional economic models became obsolete once you mastered quantum engineering. The real challenge was keeping our actual economy hidden, while maintaining the convincing facade of scarcity-based capitalism." Ilavix's binary form fluctuated in distress, but the trade agreements we've been negotiating, the resource exchanges, the technology transfers, oh, those were real, Maria nodded, taking a sip of her coffee. "We just participated in them for different reasons than you assumed. It's rather like this cafe. It appears to be a simple Earth business, doesn't it?" Ilavix glanced around at the rustic wooden tables, the antiquated espresso machine, the handwritten menu on a chalkboard. "It isn't." "Well, the coffee and croissants are genuine," Maria smiled. "But this cafe also happens to be one of our primary quantum computing hubs for the European continent. That espresso machine over there, it's processing more data per second than all Confederation systems combined." The barista, a young woman with bright blue hair, waved cheerfully as she adjusted something on the machine. Reality flickered briefly around her fingers. But why?" Ilavix managed. "Why maintain this elaborate deception? The economic advantages of revealing your true capabilities would have been immense," Maria finished, "in the short term. But we learned something important during our early development. True progress isn't just about technological advancement. It's about cultural and social evolution keeping pace with that advancement." She gestured around the cafe. "Every customer here knows what this place really is. That gentleman working on his laptop, he's actually collaborating with a team on Alpha Centauri on new applications of dimensional physics. The students in the corner, they're calculating quantum probability matrices for their university project. But they're also enjoying their coffee, chatting about their lives, experiencing the simple pleasure of a Parisian cafe." Ilavix's sensors were giving her increasingly impossible readings from everyone and everything in the cafe. The laptop was somehow operating in 17 dimensions at once. The students' casual conversation appeared to be altering local space-time in subtle ways. Even the croissants had quantum signatures that shouldn't exist. "We kept up the pretense," Maria continued, "because we wanted to understand how the Confederation handled advanced technology before we revealed ourselves. We watched how your member species treated those they considered less advanced. We observed your economic policies, your diplomatic approaches, your cultural interactions." "And what did you conclude?" Ilavix asked, dreading the answer. "That the Confederation, for all its technological advancement, still hasn't learned that progress isn't a race to be won. It's a journey to be experienced." Maria broke off another piece of her croissant. "You've achieved remarkable things, but you've lost something vital along the way. The ability to find wonder in simplicity, to value experiences beyond their technological sophistication." The barista approached their table, carrying what appeared to be a perfectly normal cup of coffee. Ilavix's sensors indicated the cup existed in at least 4 dimensions simultaneously. "Your usual quantum blend, Professor Santos?" the barista asked with a smile. "Thank you, Sophie. And perhaps something special for our guest. I think she might appreciate the temporal vanilla latte." Ilavix watched in fascination as Sophie prepared another drink using the impossible espresso machine. "How many of your people understand the true nature of your technology?" "All of them," Maria replied simply. "From the youngest child to the oldest adult. We decided long ago that technological advancement without universal understanding would create dangerous imbalances in our society. Every human knows exactly what we're capable of, and more importantly, why we choose to live the way we do. The temporal vanilla latte, when it arrived, looked perfectly ordinary. When Ilovix scanned it with her sensors, they shut down in protest. "Don't worry," Sophie winked. "It only lets you experience time non-linearly for about 10 minutes, just enough to appreciate the complexity of now while enjoying a really good cup of coffee." As Ilovix cautiously tried her impossible drink, she watched the cafe's customers going about their business. Humans casually wielding power that would make Confederation scientists weep, all while chatting about weekend plans and complaining about the weather. "We're not rejecting the Confederation," Maria said gently. "We're inviting you to understand a different way of existing. One where advancement doesn't mean abandoning simplicity, where power doesn't require constant demonstration, and where a cup of coffee can be both a quantum miracle and just a really good cup of coffee." Outside the cafe windows, Paris went about its business. Somewhere in the distance, the Eiffel Tower glittered in the afternoon sun, and according to Ilovix's occasionally functioning sensors, also served as a node in a planetary network that defied comprehension. She took another sip of her latte and watched in wonder as time danced around her. Perhaps, she thought, the humans had a point about learning to appreciate the simple things, even when they weren't simple at all. 1 year after Earth's revelation to the Confederation, High Counselor Zinthar found themselves in a most unexpected position, sitting in what appeared to be a normal suburban backyard in Melbourne, Australia, watching children play while discussing the future of galactic civilization. Director Sarah Chen sat beside them in a simple garden chair, sipping lemonade that occasionally ignored gravity. Above them, what looked like ordinary wind chimes created harmonies that seemed to resonate with the fundamental frequencies of the universe. "The transition has been challenging for many of our member species," Zinthar admitted, their crystalline form reflecting the late afternoon sunlight. "The revelation that a supposedly primitive world had surpassed us centuries ago, while maintaining the appearance of normal development. Change often is challenging." Sarah nodded, watching as a group of children played what appeared to be hopscotch. The chalk lines they drew occasionally intersected with other dimensions. "But I think your people are adapting remarkably well." Indeed, the past year had seen unprecedented changes throughout Confederation space. The carefully maintained image of Earth as a developing world had given way to something far more interesting, a civilization that had mastered the art of balancing incredible advancement with everyday joy. "Your approach to teaching has been particularly revolutionary," Zinthar observed, watching as one child explained something complex about quantum mechanics to another while they drew with sidewalk chalk. "The idea that advanced technology should be understood by everyone, not just specialists. Knowledge should never be a barrier," Sarah replied. "That was one of our earliest decisions. Every advancement, every discovery had to be understood by all, not just how it worked, but why we created it and what it meant for our society." A small drone buzzed past them, or at least it appeared to be a drone. Zinthar's sensors suggested it was actually a self-contained universe conducting complex experiments in cosmic evolution. "Your youngest son's science project?" they asked. "My neighbor's actually," Sarah smiled. "Lisa's been fascinated by universal genesis theories lately. She's testing some new ideas about dimensional folding during cosmic inflation. She's hoping to present her findings at next month's elementary school science fair." Zinthar watched as Lisa, who couldn't be more than 9 Earth years old, made adjustments to her drone, using what looked like a typical tablet computer. According to their sensors, she was casually rewriting several laws of physics. "That's what we found most remarkable," they said. "Not just your technological advancement, but how normal you made it all seem. Your children create universes as school projects. Your coffee shops process quantum data. Your park benches can rearrange space-time. Yet you still value the simple things." Sarah finished. "That's precisely the point. Advanced technology shouldn't replace everyday experiences. It should enhance them. We can fold space and time, create universes, and reshape reality. But we still enjoy watching sunsets, playing in parks, and sharing meals with friends. Above them, the wind chimes sang in frequencies that made Zenthar's crystalline form resonate pleasantly. In the distance, the city of Melbourne went about its business, looking for all the world like a normal Earth city, while simultaneously existing as one of the most advanced technological centers in known space. The Confederation Council has been discussing changes, Zenthar said carefully. Your example has sparked quite a debate about our approach to development, to diplomacy, to everything, really. We noticed, Sarah smiled. The quantum fluctuations from your last council session were quite impressive. I believe several of our elementary school teachers used them as examples in their physics lessons. A small group of children ran past, playing some sort of game that seemed to involve temporarily phasing through multiple dimensions. Their laughter echoed in ways that shouldn't have been physically possible. We've received requests, Zenthar continued, from numerous member worlds. They want to learn your approach, not just to technology, but to society. The idea that advancement doesn't have to mean losing touch with simpler pleasures. We would be happy to help, Sarah replied. Though not through traditional diplomatic channels. We find that cultural exchange works best in casual settings. She gestured around the backyard. Places like this, where people can just be people, regardless of their technological capabilities. As if to emphasize her point, Lisa's drone chose that moment to accidentally create a small galaxy. The girl quickly adjusted her tablet, carefully folding the newly born cosmos into a safe dimensional pocket while apologizing to her friends for the interruption in their game. Your species, Zenthar said slowly, has completely transformed our understanding of what civilization can be. The notion that a society can be both incredibly advanced and thoroughly grounded. That power doesn't have to be displayed to be real. That children can create universes while playing hopscotch. Sarah stood, brushing off her simple pantsuit, which, according to Zenthar's sensors, was actually an incredibly sophisticated environmental system disguised as ordinary clothing. Come on, she said warmly. The neighborhood's having a barbecue tonight. Several families are bringing dishes that may or may not alter the fundamental constants of physics, and I believe Mrs. Anderson is bringing her famous quantum apple pie. It exists in all possible states of deliciousness simultaneously, until you take a bite. As Zenthar followed her through the perfectly normal suburban backyard, where children played with forces that could reshape reality and adults chatted while casually maintaining the fabric of space-time, they realized that humanity hadn't just advanced beyond the Confederation technologically. They had discovered something far more valuable, a way to progress without losing their connection to the simple joys that made life worth living. The wind chimes sang in impossible harmonies, the children laughed as they skipped through dimensions, and somewhere in the distance, someone was grilling burgers that might or might not be changing the nature of reality. It was, Zenthar thought, perhaps the most amazing thing humans had achieved, making the extraordinary seem wonderfully, perfectly ordinary.